Yeah, hello traders. Welcome to another trading week. Today is January 22nd, and then we are going to be looking at the expectation for the coming week starting from tomorrow, January 23rd, 2025, all throughout to on Friday. And over the course of the week, we started trade signals last week, and part of the reason why I decided to do that was because I understand that for some traders, it's usually not that so easy to know exactly when to enter a trade and when to exit. And so, upon starting the, yeah, this is it. This is the channel. Upon starting the Forex WhatsApp channel, I then started giving out trade signal calls. And so if you are not part of this WhatsApp channel, it's newly created and it's growing very fast. We just crossed the 100 followers threshold not quite long, and we are looking at 500 very soon. And so in the channel, I usually post trade signals, markets outlook. That's the videos, the chart analysis. And then right now, I've also started posting trade signal calls. And in posting the trade signal calls, as you can see, I started posting the trade signal calls. I think that should be around Monday. That should be around Monday. Yeah, so that should be around Monday. And then exactly the trade scenarios that I posted here, I was taking all those trades I was taking all those trades on a $5,000 account. As you can see, starting from the NASDAQ, then the GDP card and all that. I was taking all of them and risking around 1% per trade, which is what you can see right here, risking around 1% per trade, and then average target is around 2.7%. And over the course of the week, we were able to make around 877 pips. And then the maximum drawdown was just 1.63%, which is quite very, very low, about $83 on a $5,000 account. And also, the win rate is quite low. And despite the win rate being low, we are still able to make good money. Why is this possible? The reason why this is possible is because of the risk management. So if you follow good risk management, one or two field trades that end up winning will most likely take care of all the losses that you have made and even give you good profit, which is some of the fundamentals that I'm going to be explaining in the course of the training that we're going to be having starting from this week. So for those of you that want to be a part of this part of the training is an intermediate level training, which means that it's not for beginner class. I'm not going to be saying or starting with what is Forex, what is MT4 and all that. No, I'm just going to be explaining the key fundamental things that you need to pay attention to while trading, and some of the checklists that I do on regular basis that do inform the trade decision that I post regularly. And so the intermediate level training is free, but the condition there is you have to register with a partner broker, which is just XNET and PU Prime. So if you want to be part of that, you can DM me. I'm going to be sending the link description for the channel, for the WhatsApp channel that I just recently created at the end of this video inscription down. You can check for it, and then if you find this market outlook and video analysis quite instrumental, please support by liking, sharing, comment, and then share with some of your friends. And then so just like I said, the training is going to be commencing this week, and then we are going to go in deep depth into what I usually do consider while giving those market analysis and giving those trade calls. And so what this means basically is that if you have followed all the trade signals that were given in the group, as of right now, you should be making around 5.6% roughly. That's it if you are risking around 1%. For those that risk higher, maybe around 2%, you will have made maybe over 10% profit. But I wouldn't advise that you risk much more than 1% per trade. And the reason why that is so essential is because just in case you make about 4 losses in a row, at least you're not going to be breaching your proper account that you're trading. So, which is why you want to limit your trades, your risk per trade to roughly 0.5% to 1% per trade. And I'll be explaining that in the course of the training and that we're going to be having this weekend. So, yes, let's go to some of the trade calls that were given in the WhatsApp group, in the WhatsApp channel. Starting with the dollar index, I told you guys that I'm expecting that dollar index may most likely come down and then start going up. And we are going to look at the review, and you'll see what exactly happened during the course of the week. And then I gave these trades calls. Then that's the dollar Swiss, and then price went exactly as predicted. The same for US dollar Japanese yen. Price went exactly as predicted. And then this one should be gold. And for gold chart, I gave you guys the trade signal, the trade chart that price is most likely going to come to this level. And then after that, we may start looking at the possibility of it going up. And then in the course of today's training, you will see in today's market analysis, you will see that price has exactly done that. Price has gotten here, and then it has pushed up a little. And the bias for this one seems to be bullish from that point onwards. And so for all New Zealand, I also told you guys that you should be expecting some bearish flushing down from that point, which is what has happened. As a matter of fact, I think I should just go to some of those charts so that you will see exactly what happened in the course of that, in the course of the week. Yeah, okay, so this is the index chart starting from the 1 hour time frame on dollar index. As at that time, this was where we were then, and I told you guys that you should expect some bullish movement. That's what has happened right now. And then we are the neckline. We are expecting to see what price will do from here. We'll look at the fundamental analysis around it to know what to expect in the coming week. And then I also gave you guys, let me also see what I gave you guys there. I also gave you guys, we are still going to go to gold, all the New Zealand. And so let's look at what happened right there. For all, this is what happened right there. I told you that when price gets here, you should expect some kind of flush down from that point, which was what I meant by the time I posted this. By the time I posted this, as at that time when I posted it, at the time when I posted, the price just got to around that rectangle area, and then this is what happened around here. So price just got to around that point, and then after that, it flushed down. And then for New Zealand too, for New Zealand, I also gave the expectation that when price gets to around this zone, you should expect price to pull back from there, and then that was exactly what happened. Immediately price goes to around that zone, it flushed down completely. And so that's the beauty of being in the Forex WhatsApp channel, so that you can get updated immediately where there are developments. I'm going to be posting them so that you can use that to inform your trading decision. And then for gold right here, this should be it. So for gold right here, this was where I think I posted that too for gold right here. As at that time, price was somewhere around here. So this is 1 hour time frame. Let's go to the 4 hours time frame here. So price was somewhere around here. So I gave that trade I gave that market analysis that price should actually come down to retest this trend line. And then after that, we may be looking forward to going up. And that is what is currently happening right now. Price have flushed down right now. And then right now, we are going to be looking at whether it's going to break that above or not. So there are a whole lot of reviews that people have been doing, saying I sent a whole lot of trade setups and all that. But after some time, I just decided to pause and then start setting trade signals. For instance, look at GDP-CAD right here. Let's look at what GDP-CAD did eventually. So as at that time, I think it was 1 hour time frame. 1 hour time frame GDP. Yeah, GDP-CAD 1 hour time frame. So as at that time, price was somewhere around here. That was when I gave the directional arrow that you should expect price to bounce up from that point, and that was what exactly happened. So that is one of the reasons why you want to be in the channel, so that you can have live updates based on what is happening in the market so far. GDP AUD2. Let's look at what happened. Pound odd. What happened right there? That is 1 hour time frame. So price was somewhere around here. That was where I gave the trade markets direction. That price should most likely bounce up from that point, which was here, right here. And that was what price eventually did. So there were a lot of, even Euro GDP, price exactly went down. I gave that trade signal calls for that. So a whole lot of activities happened over the week. I even went as far as giving you guys expectation for BNB. So I told you guys that we are going to be extending the market analysis to crypto and also to synthetic index and all that. So now let's quickly go to what we should expect in the coming week right now. As usual, we're going to be starting from dollar index, and then we are going to be looking at what to expect in the coming week. Before we go into this, let me quickly pull out the fundamental analysis that has been done so far. The fundamental analysis should be here. Yes. Yeah. So for USD, there's every tendency that it may be strong, and then the reason for that is because Fed had hold rates steady on June 18, and then there's key PCE inflation data which is going to be due this week most likely, and then the risk of turn from Mid-East tension tend to favor the dollar as a safe haven, and then technical signals we are going to be looking at. And what to expect in the US dollar Japanese yen, which is currently moving sideways, but I'm going to be trading it with caution. So for my trade bias on dollar index, I have actually made it to be bullish. And the reason why I am looking at the bullish setup right now is because all the while, if you start from the weekly time frame, you will see that we have been analyzing the US dollar index, which happens to be on a very strong support zone or a very strong demand area. And it's bouncing up from there. On the overall technical side, overall price action for this, it looks kind of bearish. But right now, I don't see, even if it's going to be bearish, I feel that there are going to be some kind of pullback at some point before we eventually start going all the way down. And so based on that, we have been analyzing this for the past few months all this while. For the past few months, all this while, we've been analyzing it. So it's not news to a lot of you guys that have been following me. And so right here, the reason why this triangle and this rectangle is drawn is because if we are going to be having some kind of pullback, I may expect that price may most likely come back to retest this zone. That's the first supply zone that we may see if price is going to be selling off. And then the next one right there is the next area right there where price may most likely get to is this area right here. And so it may not be immediate, it may take some while before that happens, but what has eventually happened right now is that price seems to break out from from this down structure. As you can see, we have a down structure all this while, we have a down structure, and then price seems to have broken out from it, and then when it breaks, it's kind of just retesting around the same area where it broke. And then there's every tendency that it may continue some movement to the upside very, very soon. And so there are two key things that you need to watch out for right here. The first one, let me just take this off. Okay. I think there are multiple ones that was drawn there. So the first thing that you need to observe right here is that we seem to have a reversal formation structure. Let me zoom in more so that you can see. We seem to have a reversal formation structure right here where price make an initial low and then went to retest the neckline and then it came down all the way up here, down here, and then it's pushing up. So in terms of price action development, I will be expecting some reactions around here. I'll be expecting some reactions around here. So if the fundamental is very strong that supports the United States dollars, this is going to break and then come to retest and then will blast up. But if the fundamental is not that so strong, price gets in here, not breaking it, and then coming all the way down to this point again before it eventually start going up. And so if that is going to be happening, we should expect to see an harmonic pattern that is going to be forming around here, which is most likely going to be the Gartley pattern ending around the 78.6, where this is the 61.8 retracement, and then this will be the 78.6 retracement. And so when that happens, which you will plan to go long on US dollars related pair. And if I switch to my harmonic pattern setup, I will be expecting that formation to happen around here. So as you can see, when price was getting to that supply zone, that demand area or the support area, we had an harmonic pattern that gave us an indication that price is turning. And then this inverse shoulder pattern confirmed it. We had that breakout that eventually happened. And then immediately price got here too. An harmonic pattern also surfaced that let us know that at this neckline, price may most likely want to come down. And then that is what is currently happening. So what I just feel right now is that if we are going to be having price moving in that upward direction, then there's every tendency that we may have this formation happening right there. Let me just bring out my harmonic, my Fibonacci 2 and check the levels. Okay, so as I told you, this is 61.8, and then we expect the Gartley to be around the 78.6 that will complete the reverse shader pattern for us to go long later on. So there are two ways at which we are going to be looking at trading this, or looking at how price may most likely unfold. The first one is that it needs to get to this point. It needs to get to this point and not come below this. It needs to get to this point and break it. That's the first one. And then the second one is that if it eventually dip all the way to this area, and then we have our buy setup, then we should look at going long on USD related pair. So for me, I'm looking at first, but the one that will favor me the most, the one that I will be expecting, is an initial weakness on the USD. And then after that, a very strong bullish setup for it. And so with that, we can then look at what to expect on the GDP and also the yen. For the GDP, for the pounds also was trading in a sideways correction pattern, so to say, and then it got to this neckline area right here. It got to this neckline area, and then it's pausing. It has not gotten there fully. There's every tendency that it's going to come all the way to this point first before it eventually then pause. So if we are expecting some kind of bullish momentum for pounds, and then we are expecting some kind of pullback to some extent on on the USD, then it means that when we go to the GDP USD chart, we should be looking at going long for some time before we eventually start looking at sell structure. So this is where we are on the pounds structure, and as usual, we're going to be starting from the daily time frame, and it's looking more likely that we are just going to be having some pushback a little around here, and then price bouncing off. So let me try to tell you what, or explain to you what I'm looking at. So the first one is, let me get to see this zone. Okay. So if we are going to be going long, then we should be looking at, price rejecting this area when it gets here. We should be looking at price rejecting that area when it gets to this point. So which make much more sense. So on by market open, we look at what price eventually does around here. If it gets to this point and then start giving us the candlestick formation, then we are going to be longing on this pair. We are going to be going long up to what area? We are going to be going long up to most likely around here. And that is going to be giving us how many pips? Maybe around 140 something pips, roughly around that. So what then happened is that if price gets here and didn't break, or it didn't break the initial high, then we should be looking at selling this. The reason for this is, if as at that time, the fundamental that supports US dollar is very strong, then you are going to be having that flush all the way down. So for me, I'll be looking at going long from here. I'll be looking at going long from here. So my entry is going to be around that point. And so the reason why I'm putting a line right here, this horizontal line right here, is that anywhere I put this line, it will automatically give me that price on my on the trading system that I've built. It will automatically bring that price here, and then I'll use it for my entry later on. Those are some of the things I'm going to be explaining to you guys in the course of the training. And so that's that for GDP and USD. Let's go to the Japanese yen. So for the Japanese yen, I think this one is not as clean as you would like it. Let me go to the one that you would like, which is this. Yes. So this one. So for the Japanese yen has been weak for some time now. That's why you see that if you go to the Japanese yen, pounds Japanese yen chart, you'll see that it has been bullish all this while. But then let's go to the daily time frame. You'll see that price seems to have gotten to some interesting area of resistance, which there may be some kind of pullback before we may eventually go long or whatsoever. So now, if you remember that for the Japanese yen chart in the life finance broker, it is inversely correlated. It is inversely written. So that means we have the LFS JPY instead of JPY LFX. So when this is going up, it means that Japanese yen is weak, and then when it is coming down, it means it is strong. So now we have gotten to an interesting area of resistance, and then we may expect some strength on the Japanese yen around here. So by the time I get my signal calls around here, I'm going to be looking at going shorts of US dollar Japanese yen. And so let's go to US dollar Japanese yen. US dollar Japanese yen. So this is what has happened so far. If you remember, in the course of the week, I gave you guys a buy signal for US dollar Japanese yen, which got triggered. We got some profit made from that. From that one happening, the signal call came from here because price broke out from here, and then it started retesting it. So immediately I saw this, I just gave that signal call. So to what extent do we expect this to go to? Right now we expect that price may most likely gets to this point. Even if it's going to be going down, it may most likely get to that point first and pause. And so the structure here is not as clean as I would have expected because it's forming a diagonal structure. It's not really going as expected. And so I'll be looking at price, reacting around here. So what happened here is this. If US dollars starts, if USD, that's the dollar index, starts showing some bearish momentum, which is what I explained, here. If we don't break this neckline and then US dollar starts going all the way down to form the expected Gatling pattern, then we will start seeing some sell pressure here on the US dollar Japanese yen. So around here, we may expect to get a signal for a sell. So if that happens, I'll look at the setup very well to find out whether it's something that we want to take or not. But I will expect that the retracement is most likely going to be getting to this point, and at that time, that's when we'll now decide whether we want to go long on the US dollar Japanese yen up to this point or not. But for now, I'm just going to be keeping watch on this and looking for a sell signal, and then my entry for sell is most likely going to be around that spot. Then for pounds yen, let's go to pounds yen. For pounds yen, this is the 4 hours time frame. On the daily time frame, we seem to have a very similar structure as we have on the Japanese yen index that we just looked at. And it's looking more likely that price had gotten to one area that it may pause a little, but the overall zone that price may most likely get to is here. And this is the big picture that you can see right here. This is a big picture. So, around this zone, what then happened is that if at any time the Japanese yen index, give a sell signal around here, which means that the yen may be stronger at that point, then it means that we should be looking at taking a sell trade around this zone for the Japanese yen. And that also then takes us to the euro so that we can quickly analyze the euro-yen related pairs. So let's quickly look at the euro. For the euro, that's last week, I was expecting that when price gets here, it will pause and do some kind of pullback up to this point before eventually go to this high. But that didn't happen. It just did some kind of correction around here, and then it pushed up, which means that the fundamental surrounding the euro is still very, very strong. But then it makes it quite easy because now it has gotten to a very interesting area of resistance. And so we may expect that price is going to be pulling back at some point around here. So I'm expecting some weakness on the euro index. I'm expecting some weakness around here. And so, which means that for euro, I'm expecting my bias is weak. Let me just check what I've put there. So for USD, strong. For Japanese yen, neutral to bullish. And then for euro, I'm expecting bearish. And then for pounds, I'm expecting neutral to bearish. And the reason for that neutral to bearish is because we are currently in a downtrend. There's every tendency that price may not go all the way back up here again. So when it goes some movement to here, there's every tendency that it may start trending down. So, and then this is backed up fundamentally anyway. The fundamental analysis that was done ranked it in the way that even make much more sense by the time you relate it, technically speaking. And so, so for euro, just like I said, for euro, I'm expecting some weakness. So if you go to euro yen, you should be able to be looking for a sell setup, which is what I've already even drawn here. So we have a diagonal structure right here. And then if you want to find out at what points that we should be looking at, it should be around the 127.2% right now. almost around there. So I'm just going to add that to the levels. 1.127, 27.2. Yeah, so it should be around there. 1.272. I'm not sure I got that correctly. Uh, we already have 1.618. Okay. 1.27, 1.272 on 27.2. Yeah. So it should be exactly around that point. That's where we are right now. And then by extension, it may get to, I don't see it getting to 127, 161.8, but I am marking this area for the possible area where price may most likely sell off. And so what happened here is that we're expecting euro to be weak, and then based on the structure that we have on the Japanese yen, we're expecting it to be strong at this point, and then so EURUSD should give us a very good sell opportunity around that zone. And then not just EURUSD okay, let's also look at EURUSD. So for EURUSD, as I already told you, I'm expecting some weakness on euro for some time, and then this looking more likely that we are looking more likely to be this. So if at any time that US dollar becomes very strong, anywhere euro price is at any time that US dollar become very strong, I'll be looking forward to taking that trade call. So what it means is that if we can get a double top right here, where price actually move to this point, giving us that double top formation, then I'll be looking forward to selling it from that point. But at any point at all where I know that euro becomes very weak and then US dollar becomes very strong, I'll be looking forward to taking that sell on euro USD. But then I think that we should be having an harmonic pattern right here that is already forming. I'm going to try to find out what exactly may form from that point, but it looks more likely that we are going to be having an harmonic pattern that will be forming around that point that will give us a sell signal. So when that happens, we'll be posting it in a group. Then the other one is Euro GDP. So let's go to Euro GDP. For Euro GDP, that's Euro pounds. I gave you guys a sales trade signal around that point. When price was somewhere around here, I gave a trade signal call that got to somewhere around here. I'm not sure price triggered the sell, the target. I'm not sure about that. Let's check. I'm not sure price triggered the target. I think it was one of the trade that eventually, okay, yeah, we closed it at those loss. So around Friday, close and price was not really moving in that direction. I just told you guys to just close it in that small loss. So it has eventually gotten to another interesting area where we may want to sell at. And so the reason why I'm looking at sell for this is because fundamentally speaking, euro may be weak, and then there's some tendency that pounds may, be bullish to some extent based on what I explained to you guys, that pounds may be bullish to some extent. So which gives us the trade idea or expectation for the euro pounds right here. So that is that for EURUSD, Euro GDP, and Euro USD. So the next one I want to look at is the CAD. And so for CAD, CAD has been weak for some time. That's why you see that I'm actually surprised that CAD has been weak, because the oil chart, the oil price has been bullish all this while. So I was expecting that, CAD remains strong, but it has been weak all this while. And I feel that the weakness may extend all the way to somewhere around here. So there are two possibilities. Either it gets to this point and then resist that line and start going back up, or it comes all the way further to this zone. But let's look at what we have on the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, nothing really suggests that there's going to be. So I feel that we may most likely be seeing some weaknesses on the pounds. And so most likely it may just do some kind of pull back up all the way to this area and then eventually selling off down. So my overall bias on the card is weak. Even though the reason why I say slight bearish is because we may first have some kind of pushback up to some extent, and then after that, especially when the oil price starts falling, the oil price right now, the US oil price is around a very strong resistance area, which may fall off very soon. And so when that happens, then we may start having that happening. So with that, let's go to US dollar card. For US dollar card, we seem to have broken down from this descending triangle right here. We seem to break away from that descending triangle, and then right now we are at the neckline. And so what may most likely happen right here is that if that card at any time was strong, you may have the price just pulling down a little at that point, just pulling down a little. But if it fails to break this level, then we should be looking at going long, because when that happens, and especially when US dollar becomes very strong, you may have price coming all the way to this zone, or even as long as high as getting all the way to that point. So there are two key areas where we should be looking at price getting to that, or even all the way to that zone. But I'll be very, very interested in the pullback first before price breaks out. So that is that for the dollar card. And so I'll be putting my entry level around here. If price gets there, I'll be very, very happy to take that trade. Then the next one should be GDP card. So for GDP card, where is that? For GDP card, we have already started seeing some momentum on GDP card, and I give you guys that charts analysis that you should expect movement to the upside on GDP card, which is what is currently happening. And then right now I think we also took the buy signal, and then it got it on profits. Let me quickly confirm that. GDP card should be somewhere around. Okay, I think it didn't hit the target. The other one was the one that hit target, but the first signal called didn't hit. And we really just made few losses. But then right now where we are is making it very, very easy to see the obvious. And so I'll be looking at taking a buy call around here, and I'm going to be putting my entry line around here. So when price gets here, and then on my CSM, and I start getting to see buy GDP cards from around here, I'm going to be taking that trade. So the next one, which is going to be Euro card. We've already looked at USDCAD, GBP card, remaining Euro card, and card yen. So for Euro card, we are expecting similar structure. We should be looking at buy on Euro card right here. Should be looking at card on Euro card. So this most likely will first have a little pullback, but I'm not going to be looking for any sell at all for this pair. I'm just going to be identifying the area where I should be expecting price to get to so that we can buy. So for me, I'll be very much interested in buying it if price gets to somewhere around here. So what you may expect is, some kind of price sideways movement around here. And then if that happens, I'll be looking forward to taking that buy to possibly up to somewhere around here. I'll be looking forward to that. So that's that for pounds for EURUSD. And then for CAD yen, which should be this. So for CAD yen, we should be looking at selling it when yen becomes very, very strong. We're looking at selling it when yen becomes very strong. So on the daily time frame, we seem to be in a slight weak resistance area, which may eventually be broken. So let's look at what we have on the 4 hours time frame. So on the 4 hours time frame, I think it's not that so clear, but on the 1 hour time frame, so what I'm just going to be looking at right here is to draw. Let me just take this away. There's something that is disturbing me right here. Okay, let me just take this away. Delete this. Okay, yeah. So I'm actually going to be looking at this right here. So if yen is not immediately strong at the start of the market open, we may have price first pushing back up all the way here. So if that happens, that's even going to be very, very good for us to get in. So I'm going to be marking this area as the very good area for a sell. But if yen becomes strong immediately at market open, then this will be a very good trade setup for us. So what it means is that if you miss this entry, then you want price to come all the way down here and then pull back up first before you then look for a sell signal. Pull back up before you then start looking at the possibility of it flushing all the way down. But for me, I'm not looking at buying CAD yen at all. Even if it's going to be going up, I'll be looking at a sell signal either from this point or from this point. Then the next one right here is look at EURUSD, CAD yen, Egypt, so remaining Swiss francs. So for Swiss francs, I think we are going to be looking at a bearish setup for Swiss francs, although fundamentally speaking, Swiss francs seems to be quite strong, fundamentally speaking. But technically speaking, right here, based on what I can see, I'm not really seeing a buy setup around here right now. So for me, I'll be looking at weakness on the Swiss francs. I'll be looking at weakness of the Swiss francs. The worst that can happen right here, or the worst that I may most likely expect, is maybe price first coming to retest the monthly resistance line. So if that happens, then I'll be looking forward to that weakness on the Swiss francs. So for me, my trade bias for Swiss francs is bearish, despite the fact that fundamentally speaking, it is ranked second based on recent events around the world relating to Swiss francs. But for me, I'm looking at it being bearish. So that means that it needs to be approached with caution. Dollar Swiss right here is very close to the setup that we have just seen on the US dollar CAD. And so what it means is that anytime the US dollar becomes very strong, we should be looking at buying the dollar Swiss. So for me, I'm not looking for a sell setup on this. If that sell happens, so if it breaks below this, if it breaks below this line that I've drawn, then it means that we are most likely going to be coming all the way to this zone. But let me just use rectangle for that. It means that we are going to most likely be coming all the way to that zone, but I don't see that happening. I'm just looking at, by the time your dollar becomes very strong, then we should be looking at buying this pair from that point. So for dollar Swiss, I'm looking at going long on it. And then, so the next one is pound Swiss. So for pound Swiss, let's look at what we have there for pound Swiss right here. Okay. So for pound Swiss, honestly speaking, this currency pair has actually been giving me some kind of tough time understanding what is in his mind. And I think that, so all the while you'll see that I've actually stayed away from trading it, basically. But it's looking more likely, let's go to the weekly time frame. It's looking more likely that we would be expecting it to go bullish at some point. It's looking more likely that we're expecting it to go bullish at some point. Price has gotten here and it's just doing some kind of correction before most likely pushing up. And so for this, I'm just going to also draw this. And so what it means is that there's every tendency that is just, consolidating in that zone for now. Just consolidating in that zone for now for the next move that wants to, that's going to be going bullish. So for me, I'm actually looking at price coming all the way to that top. And then if I'm not going to see anything that suggests that it has started that bullish movement, I am not going to be in the trade. So for now, let me see if I can get any, okay. So yeah, this makes sense. So if price doesn't go below this point, then I should be looking at buying it. So if price gets and then doesn't break below it, then I'll be looking at buying it. But I won't be looking at selling it at this point. So if I want to buy, it needs to come down all the way to this point. I'm only just going to be looking for buy signal calls on this pair. Then the next one is okay, I don't trade. Okay, Sweet yen. So for Sweet yen, we should be looking at selling it, Sweet yen. So we already have a diagonal structure right there. So for Swiss yen, I'm looking for a sell setup. This one isn't quite very good. So Euro yen and Swiss yen are one of the top structures that you want to look for, that you want to trade and look for a sell opportunity. And so for Swiss yen, we'll be looking forward to selling it. And then for Euro Swiss, I don't trade that at all. For CAD Swiss, I don't trade that also. So the next one is odd. For odd, it seems to have been resuming the bearish, and I'm expecting it to go much more bearish all the way to possibly around this point. And so I'm ignoring this buy call right here. I'm expecting that price should get to somewhere around that zone based on the structure. And then also fundamentally speaking, there's nothing that supports that is going to be strong anytime. So for odds, RBA last cut to 3.8% on May 20th with next meeting until July. So before we may most likely get to see any major fundamental news that may support odd, it may most likely be next month. And so, but before then, there's nothing that really supports any strength for odd right now. So in a risk off and sentiment, commodity link like odd usually affected. So we are in a risk off environment, and so we should expect some kind of money flowing house of commodity linked and then going into investment link. So for all the New Zealand, I'm expecting weakness, and so for New Zealand too, right here. Although this seems to be in a very what do you call it? A very minor support line, but I see it breaking it all the way down to this zone. So if I'm going to be drawing my expectation for New Zealand, because it's at a very resistant, a very minor support line, possibility of price first bridging around here before eventually flushing down. So based on that, I'll first expect some pullback around here, which is going to be giving you that, that structure that we usually look for. And then, so if price gets here, so what I'm saying basically here is that if price pull back, that's in New Zealand became strong for some time and then get to somewhere around here and then start showing weaknesses, then we are going to be going short on New Zealand USD. So let's look at New Zealand USD, which is this. So for this, it has already even started the short movement, but there's still much more room for it to get to, that zone. Based on this, you expect that price, will come somewhere around here. So for me, I'm just going to draw this, and then draw this. So price broke away from that support line and then came back all the way to retest it. There's every tendency that it may do some kind of push to the upside before it eventually starts flushing down. So for me, I'll be looking at selling New Zealand USD if it gets to somewhere around here. If it gets to around here, then I'll be looking forward to selling it. And then GDP New Zealand, for GDP New Zealand, we should be looking at maybe sideways movement or push to the upside. So for me, I'll be looking at buying it around here. If price gets to somewhere around here, I'll be looking forward to going long on GDP New Zealand. And then the target level is most likely going to be somewhere around here. The target level is going to most likely be somewhere around here. Then the next one is, I don't trade New Zealand JPY, Euro New Zealand. For Euro New Zealand, which is going to be this, for this one, Euro is expected to be weak and New Zealand is expected to be also weak to some extent. So you want to stay away from this pair, but if peradventure you want to trade it, you want to just, it's most likely going to be moving sideways. You want to just, take a sell around there. And then after that, there's every tendency that it may also, go all the way up again. So for me, Euro New Zealand is a no-no, but if I have a choice, I'll be looking forward to selling it than to buying because it's currently around a major resistance area. So when Euro becomes very weak, this is going to be giving you a very good sell opportunity. And then the next one is CAD New Zealand. New Zealand CAD, I don't trade that. Then Swiss New Zealand Swiss, I don't trade that. Australia New Zealand, I also don't trade it. But we didn't look at AUD USD and GDP AUD and all that. So let's look at AUD USD. AUD USD, just like we have seen it in the New Zealand USD, I'm also expecting some kind of flush around here for New Zealand USD. So a price go all the way to this top, do some kind of pullback, and then we should be looking for a sell signal that may most likely take us all the way down to that zone. And then the next one is GDP AUD, which we should be looking for a buy signal or a sideways. So for this, on a 4 hours time frame, I'll be looking for entry around here. I'll be looking for entry around there. So that means that when price come all the way down to this point, then I should be looking at taking a buy setup if pounds becomes very, very strong. But if pounds doesn't become very, very strong, there's every tendency that price is not going to be really going well as expected. So it's not that so clean, especially when the two of them are very, very weak. Then the next one is the Australian Japanese yen. So for Australian Japanese yen, we'll be expecting a sell-off around here. We've already gotten a trade signal giving us a sell setup right there. And so I'll be looking for a sell setup around this point for AUD USD. But let's look at the daily time frame. The daily time frame suggests the tendency that price may get to this point. The price may get to this point. So if that happens, if our sell setup fails, if our sell setup fails right here, if that happens, then we should be looking at this formation. So that means that, okay, so that means that we should be looking at this formation and then price eventually turning from that point. So whatever happens, let's look at what happens in the course of the week, but I'll be looking forward to selling it much more than to buying it. Then the next one is we have looked at AJ, then it should be Euro AUD and odd card. Euro AUD and odd card, then we should call it a day. So Euro AUD should be here. So for Euro AUD, just like I said, we have it in Euro New Zealand, we have a very similar structure in Euro AUD. So you want to look for a sell around here, but the sell that you are going to be looking for, just know that it may not really go well, because there's every tendency that the two of them may most likely be ranging. But if price gets to that point, then I'll be looking for a very good sell from there that may take us all the way down here. So let me just put this so that I don't forget. Yeah, somewhere around here. Okay. So then odd card, which would be this. For me, I don't usually trade this pair. I don't know why it's still part of the listed, but it's looking more likely that we are going to be looking at some more downside down to the upside. So, well, for me, I'm staying out completely from this one. But if I'm going to be having a choice, I'll be looking for price getting to that point before any sell. So if price can get here, then I'll sell it. But if it doesn't and get here, I'm not going to be looking for a buy at all, because there's every tendency that card is going to be weak, and so I don't want to buy card. But for me, I'm generally not buying or selling this pair at all. So how is that for my expectation in the coming week? And then in the channel, I am going to be posting some of the trade setups when they are very ripe. And then I'm also going to be posting and sending the trade signals for some of those pair. Tomorrow being Monday, I'm most likely not going to be available. I have some other engagements that may keep me away from the markets till the evening time, but possibly from Tuesday, Wednesday, and upwards, I should be able to have time to sit and analyze and give some trade signal calls. So I'm just giving you guys that, so that by the time you don't see some trade activities happening in the channel, you understand that being a Monday morning, there's every tendency that I have other engagements at that time. And also for the trade signals, you guys are going to be having it free this week. Immediately after the training, it will be made available to those that subscribe to the intermediate level training, and I promise that I'll let it be available for them for maybe up to 6 months, but let's see how it goes, depending on how it turns out. If I get to be well encouraged by the turnout, then I can let it be that I can be as that generous. But if it's not up to that expectation, then I'll just look at what I can do about it. But going forward, what I'm just going to be concentrating on is posting trade setups in the channel, and then the trade signals will be available for VIP people. All right. So you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Make sure you have a good trading week. And then if you have concerns, you can raise it in a group. And then I'll be posting some of those trade setups as time goes on. So you guys, cheers and bye for now.